بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. In the name of Allah, and exaltations be to Allah, and blessings and peace be upon the Messenger of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to everyone. Welcome to the Halakha session for today, June the 27th. And I am Sohel Sarwar, your speaker for today's session.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم.
I say this saying of mine, and I seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for me and for you and to the rest of the Muslims. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his divine forgiveness. He is the forgiver, the merciful. So inshallah, for today's session, we will go over the various aspects of Tajweed. But our goal is to attain taqwa. So taqwa is the core of the topic for today, bi'idhnillah. The very word taqwa means God consciousness, God-fearing piety, or fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is the state which actually keep us in check. That means we acknowledge the omnipresence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his all-encompassing knowledge. So taqwa motivates us to perform righteous deeds, and it keeps us away from forbidden activities. A believer who has attained taqwa is called Al-Muttaqin. Taqwa has been cited at many verses in the Holy Qur'an, about more than 60 locations. And in Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أقرأنكم إن الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Verily, the most honorable of you with Allah is the believer who has taqwa. Verily, Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. So, Allah is giving the guarantee of giving honor to the people who actually have attained taqwa. And in Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بلى من عوفى بعهده واتقى فإن الله يحب المتقين. But yes, whoever fulfills his covenant and fears Allah, then indeed Allah loves the muttaqin. So Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah mentioned about giving honor, and Surah Imran, Allah mentions about that He loves the muttaqin. Taqwa can be attained in many ways. Our siyam, our qiyam, our dhikr, in many ways, taqwa can be attained. Reciting Quran is a dhikr. That's remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot see him, but verily these are his true words. So with the intention of attaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine closeness, if we recite Quran to receive his rahmah and maghfirah by reflecting on his guidance, then inshallah taqwa will be attained. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Baqarah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah. That means it's referring to the Muttaqin. So if we trace back Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah is promising about giving honor to the Muttaqin. Surah Al-Imran, Allah is saying He loves the Muttaqin. Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah is saying that He has sent us a book, the Quran, which is no doubt the guidance for the Muttaqin. So He is showing us the path to be the Muttaqin, and what is the reward to become a Muttaqin. We mentioned that what taqwa can do for us, keeping us in check. And taqwa does lead believers to guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bidnillah, I will make an attempt to cover some linguistic aspects of Quranic Arabic to recite Al-Quran in Sahih way to attain taqwa. So it is assumed that the audience has the basic knowledge of Quran recitation, but the disclaimer is, I am neither a scholar nor a subject matter expert in this field. Rather, I am a lifelong seeker and a lifelong learner. I have spent several years in the recent time to understand the linguistic aspects of Quranic Arabic regarding Tajweed. So I believe that with permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can share that knowledge with our community so that all together, in a collective way, we can attain. So inshallah, I will make an attempt. And if I make any mistake in the process, in advance, I am seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness, and I'm seeking forgiveness from you all. So don't think that I am a subject matter expert in this field. I am not. I have a willingness to share my limited knowledge with you. So if you already know about this, so have patience with me. And if you do not know what I am going to present, then also have patience with me. Subhanallah. So once again, Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah mentioned about giving the honor to the Muttaqin. Surah Al-Imran, Allah is saying that He loves the Muttaqin. Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He sent the book as the guidance for us, and that will actually be the guidance for the Muttaqin. Then He makes a promise that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون. Indeed, it is we who send down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian. So Allah makes the commitment. Allah promises He Himself will preserve the Quran. So if the Quran is the guidance, if Allah is in charge to keep its integrity, and if Quran leads us towards taqwa, and taqwa gives us Allah's love, Allah's honor, Subhanallah, what else we can ask for? According to hadith, so I'm going to give a little bit of background of Quran compilation very briefly. According to hadith recorded by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the Messenger of Allah said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Quran was sent down in 7 ahruf. Each of these ahruf has an outward aspect, zahr, and an inward aspect, batin. Each of the ahruf has a border, and each border has a lookout. It has a pretty intense meaning, and we will not go over this in this lecture. I have actually decided, if Allah permits, I will go over that in another session. So there are hadith about sending Al-Quran to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam via Jibril Alaihi Wasallam in 7 dialects. And those 7 versions actually came from 7 doors of Jannah. So may Allah forgive me if I'm quoting anything wrong here. So the Quran was the actual revelation, and the Musahaf was the compiled written version of it. Based on the 7 ahrufs, which were even based on 7 different dialects, the early stage compilation, Quran compilation process during Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an caused some variations. And at the later stage, that was corrected by Hazrat Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an during his Khilafah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط.
But during the Khilafah of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, just to avoid the complexities, the complications, and to avoid the risk of falling in the same, the erroneous path of the other religion like the Christianity and Judaism, to have just one version of it. So Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an made a decree that he recalled all other versions of the Musafs and he destroyed everything else, and he kept one version. And that one actually officially has been going on. But there are those continuous 7 qira'at, the habits, because those were propagated through the early stage, the Muslims. Abu Ubaid al-Qasim bin Salam, rahmatullahi alayh, was the first to develop a recorded science for Tajweed, with defined rules, terms, enunciation for qira'at. Also gave the rules for Tajweed names and putting those into writing in his book called Al-Qira'at. So the point to be noted here, at the early stage when the Quran was recorded, many diacritics, that means those marks, were not there in the early Quran. The harakas were not there either. But those were easily understood by the native Arabs, because that's the language. And Arabs are kind of famous for their memory. And they can actually memorize a lot. So it was easy for them, but when Islam expanded, it needed to be written down so that people do not get confused easily. So that's where the Tajweed, actually the structured Tajweed came into place. So the Musahaf, as I was referring to, that is in general throughout almost all the Muslims world today, is a Medina Musahaf based on the Qira'at reading of Hafs, the Rawi transmitter, on the authority of Asim, the Qari. So in this lecture, I will follow Medina Musahaf, since this is the mainstream Musahaf in the Muslim world. And the qira'at that I will follow, that's going to be Hafs.
التواب الرحيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs us in Holy Quran in verse 4 Surah Al-Muzzamil about Quran recitation. He says, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, and recite the Quran with measured recitation. So tartil is the Arabic word for hymnody. So it is kind of like the hymn that the many people, the spiritual people, they kind of sing with a deep voice. So it has some relevance, some a relation to that. The term suggests Quran recitation with proper order and with no haste, with slow measured rhythmic tones. And proper understanding of the following 5 linguistic elements of the Quranic Arabic can be instrumental in this regard. So I actually kind of, I have gone through a plethora of documents over years and kind of formulated these 5 elements that I think it is the core, and that is the main guidance to follow the Tajweed rules easily. So I will shed some lights in that regard. So please stop me at any point if you have to. The first one is glyphs. So every single language has some symbolic representation of the characters, and those are called glyphs, the way we write, the symbolic representation. In Arabic, there are total 29 letters, including Hamza. But Hamza has kind of like controversial position. That means some people, they do not recognize it as a full alphabet. So many places you'll find there are 28 alphabets plus Hamza. But for the case of simplicity, I will consider Hamza as part of the alphabet set of Quranic Arabic. And the presence and location of Hamza impacts the enunciation, that means pronunciation of words. So I wanted to actually put some emphasis on it. So bi'idhnillah, we will have some discussions in this regard. And then the second one is diacritics. The Arabic script has numerous diacritics, including i'jam, consonant pointing, and tashkil, supplementary diacritics. The latter include the harakat. The vowel marks singular is known as haraka. Tajweed rules are heavily influenced by the tashkil rules. Bi'idhnillah, we'll have some intense discussions in this regard. So the example at the bottom that you see here, it is color coded. You see the black ones, that's called the razm. That is the original, actually, the letters used by the early stage Arab Muslims, actually Arabs, because it was their language. Muslims and non-Muslims, all they shared the same language. And the red one, you see few dots under the ba, under the ya, after mim, and then the nun. Those are the ijam. But ignore the ya, because that is not a consonant. The nun and ba, those are the consonants. So those are the ijam. And then you see the blue ones on top and the bottom. Those are the haraka. So I understand, based on the assumption that we all have some basic understanding of Quran recitation, we all know about these things. The reason I wanted to point out, because the deviation in handling, in pronouncing those, actually could make a difference. definitely in a negative way. So the third element is the orthography. So orthography is how do you spell a word. So in Arabic grammar, there are comprehensive approaches of combining the gender with the verb, with the tense all together. And almost all the Arabic words are three-letter words. But you'll see that you add as I said, the gender, the tense, and that makes it, and also sometimes the singular and the plural nature of it. But this discussion does not cover it because that's beyond our scope. And so we will skip the hardcore orthographical discussion in this. But what we will actually discuss, a small section of it, we call orthography ligature, because there is a symbol in Quranic Arabic. It's called ta marbutah. And ta marbutah, how do you stop at a word in a verse? So that has something to do with the construction of ta marbuta. So we'll discuss inshallah. Then the fourth element is the phonetics and enunciation. So how do you say it? Makhraj, the points of articulation. You see a picture on the right side of a throat. So there are various enunciation points that we use to make sounds. And when we are born in a language, we learn this automatic by listening to the other speakers. But when we adopt a different language, then we have to master those with rigorous practice. And Arabic is a language which has lots of movement and lots of articulation points, flow of air, nasalization of sound, and rules of conjugation. So makhraj is kind of important, and especially for us, the non-Arab Arabic speaking population, and especially where we come from, the geographic location where Persian alphabets actually were used at the early stage for the Quranic recitation. So even in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in India, and also like in some other parts of Africa and other places where the Persian influence was quite intense, you see various letters, Arabic letters, are pronounced in very differently. And those letters will oftentimes be confused with the actual Arabic, the letters, which are kind of similar. And we actually need to pay attention to that, because oftentimes we'll see that there is a reference here. You'll see the tafkhim here, the qaf, the kha, the ghain, the sword, the dhuh, then tuh, then do. So dod. So now in the subcontinent, some of those letters are pronounced as like the kind of like a Z. So I will try to break down that where there is a potential chance of making a wrong pronunciation. And there's another one, there's a ha. You see at the bottom the ha. So say for ahad. So that ha comes from the middle of the throat. Lots of airflow has to happen. In contrast to the other word, say for hada. Hada. So that hada, that's a lower ha. So that has a different pronunciation. If you use Google Translate and write down that ahad with that smaller ha, for the lack of like the better word, And then the ha, the qanariyah here. So if you write ahad in both ways, you will see the change of the meaning. So that is significant. So we actually have to pay attention to it. The fifth point is the punctuation. So it's called the waqf, and the plural is awqaf, where we end, how we end. So that has a lot to do with the Tajweed rules as well. So we'll go over some of those, inshallah. So now let's elaborate those. First one, and the glyphs, the symbols, 29 of those, including Hamza. So those symbols, those characters can be broadly grouped into three kinds: the vowels, consonants, and the special one, the Hamza. So the three letters, Aleph, Wa, and Ya, these are called the long vowels. Why we're calling this long vowels? Because there are short vowels as well, and we'll go over those inshallah soon. But the letter Ya, you see those two dots. So those diacritics, two dots at the bottom, in Medina Musaf, those two dots are not used. Actually, in Egyptian Arabic, they do not use those two dots. And before Medina Musahaf actually became the mainstream Musahaf, there was the Egyptian version. So they adopted their own year version of it without the dot. So that's how it actually propagated. That's my understanding with the limited knowledge that I have. So the reason I would like to go over it, because that is kind of confusing, that yeah without the two dots. Because whether that symbol will be actually a yeah or something else, because we'll see shortly that sign, yeah sign without the two dots, is also used as something else. So whether it is something else or it is an actually yeah with the omitted, like those two dots at the bottom, it will depend whether if the haraka, that means the letter taken by yeah, I'm sorry, the short vowels, haraka is the short vowels, haruf is the letter. So if the haraka, that means the short vowels taken by yeah, or the previous harf, that means the previous character, is either kasra or damma or sukun, then ya represents actually ya. So ya itself, that symbol without the dot, if it takes a sukun, if it takes a kasra, if it takes a damma, and also the previous, the letter, the harf, also has either a kasra or a damma, then this is indeed a ya. It is not the special character. So what is that special character? So this slide, you see this special character is called Aleph Maqsura. It's called final or limited Aleph. So that yeah without the dot as the final letter of a word can be used as an Aleph for some special cases. So it is actually an Aleph. It is not a yeah. So each such an instance, yeah, is known as the Aleph Maqsura. So the important point to note here is that in this case, the haraka with the previous harf must be fatah. And as we have noted in the previous slide, if the symbol needed to be ya, the haraka with the previous harf needed to be kasra or damma. But if it is just fatah, then there is a chance it could be alif maqsura, provided alif maqsur, that this ya is not taking any sukun or any other haraka. So let's see some examples. So either it could be ya or it could be an alif maqsura. So I will come back to the hamza in a second. So I have few verses from Surah Al-Baqarah. And here you see that I circle those. And the red circle ones are the ya. the symbol without the dots. And the green circle ones are the alif maqsura. You have just one on the slide at the bottom on the left. Ala. But alladhi, fi, yum, then the fourth line, the fi, and the last line, shay'in, those are all yeah. Because the first line, you see that symbol, yeah symbol without the dot, the previous harf, which is dhal, has a kasrah. And in Indian subcontinent, just to make it clear, we call it like zer. So this is called kasra in Arabic grammar. So it's a kasra. So that's why it is a yeah. It is not alif maqsura. Same goes for the second one, the fi, because fa has a kasra, and then there is yeah symbol. Since it is following a kasra, so it is a yeah. And the third line, also, you see the mim, the previous one has a sukoon, and it itself is taking the tanween damma. And you can follow through the rest. And the one at the bottom, ala, you see that lam, the previous letter, has fatah, and there is another small diacritic symbol you see here, but it is called alif qasira, and it has other names as well. We'll decide it shortly. So here, this symbol is not yeah, it is alif maqsura. So you do not read it as ala yeah, you receive it as ala. Same way, I have a few more verses here. So here we have two more alif maqsuras. In the second line, you have ila, and the last one, bil huda. Same way. That symbol, the previous one, the yeah symbol, the previous harf has a fatah. So that's why it is alif maqsura. And the red one, the fi, is just like the previous example. It is the actual yeah. So we now know the difference between yeah and alif maqsura when the dots are absent. So the special character hamza, and as I said, that the position of hamza will determine how that word will be sounded. Now the hamza usually sits on an alif or a waw or a ya. Also, it can sit by itself too. That means it can be standalone. So it can sit with alif, wa, ya, and also it can be standalone. So it cannot sit with anything else. Just to make sure that we all understand. And it can take any of those harakas. That means fatah, kasrah, or damma. And based on those haraka, the hamza will be pronounced. But the sound of hamza is a semi-consonant. And you see here at the beginning of this paragraph that hamza indicates a glottal stop. What does it mean? It means you have to stop the as if you're choking in your throat, you cannot pronounce. And that's why at the bottom of this paragraph, you see this hamza is also used as hamzatul qat. Hamzatul qat means this hamza will break a word into two parts. So let's go and see the example of it. Here, the blue ones are the hamza. So the first one, you see, the example is ado'at. Ado'at. So you see that between das dod with a mad, that means a long, the vowel here. And then we have the hamza, so we are giving it a pause. So ado'at. Ado'at. So there is a glottal stop. Same way, if you see the other one, as-sama'i, as-sama'i. So the glottal stop has to be applied. You cannot pronounce it as-sama'i fihi, as-sama'i fihi. You cannot. السماء فيه السماء فيه. So there is a glottal stop that you have to apply here. And same way, as I said, Hamza could be standalone as well. Look at the third line. مستهزئون. مستهزئون. So Hamza, I'm sorry, this is not the case. Move to the second one. يستهزئ بهم. يستهزئ بهم. So it is taking Dhamma, and so it is following the sound of the Dhamma. So as I said, it will sit on an Aleph or a Wa or a Ya. As the fourth line shows, it is sitting on an Aleph and taking a Dhamma. So it sounds like Ulaika, Ulaika. So you follow it easily. So the next one is the consonants, the other consonants. That means not the semi-consonant as a Hamza. So the rest of the alphabets without Hamza are within this category. Those are pretty normal, so we will not shed any light on that. The only thing that we'll talk about, the orthographic ligature that we referred earlier. So what happens, so here, the letter Ha and Ta, these are combined to form something called Ta marbutah. So the original Ta is called Ta maftuha, means open Ta. And Ta marbutah means the closed Ta. As you can see, the two sides has been closed down. It's like a teardrop. And then what happens? Also, two dots are used on top of it. Now, the reason Ta marbuta is kind of critical because whether it's going to be sounded like a Ta or it's going to be sounded like a Ha, depending on where you stop and where it is positioned. So I have a few examples. So here you see that هدى ورحمة للمحسنين. So that first one, circle with the red. So رحمة للمحسنين. So that is sounded like a ta. Same way, the second line, الصلاة والزكاة. So it is sounding like a ta. Now, if I decided to stop on salat, I would say, الذين يقيمون الصلاة. So I will sound it like a ha. Now, so if you stop at the ta marbuta, it sounded like a ha, otherwise it sounded like a ta. Another thing to note here, which doesn't have anything to do here, is that that sign, that dagger-shaped sign, which is called as a dagger alif, or alif qasira. We'll discuss it later. But the sound is not as-salawat. It is not sounded like that. So wa will not be pronounced. So when you have that alif qasira or dagger alif or alif khanzariya on wa or ya, so that those long vowels will not be pronounced, because alif qasira or khanzariya itself is a long vowel. All right, so let's move ahead. So this is from Surah Al-Qariya. So here it is the actually epic example of making ta marbuta sounding like a ha. So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم القارية ما القارية. You can sound it like that, it becomes a ha. But if you prefer to continue, القاريات ما القارية. So if I decided that I'm not gonna stop at this verse, the first one, continue, then it will be sounded like a ta. Otherwise, if I decide to stop it, then it sounded like a ha. So we talked about the glyphs, now diacritics, so which are the various kind of the accent, the marks that we have shown example about. So for ba, ta, nun, the dots are part of the diacritics. Arabic script has a whole lot of those. So this is the example that I gave before. And as I mentioned that towards the beginning of, or the early stage of the Quran, when the Quran was revealed, and it was compiled at the later stage during the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr, radiallahu ta'ala an. So those harakas, those ijams were not there, diacritics were not there. Those were added later on. So ijam, we talked about this a consonant pointing, like whether it's going to be a noon or ba or a jim or a kha, so on and so forth. And there's another that is supplementary ones. Those are called tashkil. And tashkil, the literal meaning is to give shape or form. And so the Tajweed rules are heavily influenced by the various tashkil rules, which we'll try to follow in the next several slides. The first one is the haraka. So I have mentioned of the haraka all along. And since the assumption is that we all know or have the basic understandings of the reading of Quran, so we know that the haraka, the fatah, the kasrah, or the dhamma, or corresponding the terms in the Farsi influenced the languages. Jabr, Zabr, Zer, Pesh, those are the ones. So even I forgot how to say it, but to remember that. So the critical point to be noted here is that the phonetic difference between the Arabic short vowels, the harakat, those fatah, kasra, and dhamma, and the original long vowels, alif, waw, and ya. So the phonetic difference, the duration, how long they have to be pronounced. So for in the middle of this paragraph, I have bu, bu, bi, ba, bu. The first one, that's the third line. You see bu, bi, ba. Next to example, that's the 1, 2, 3, fourth line. You have the ba with a dhamma, nothing else. The ba with a kasra, nothing else. Ba with a fatah, nothing else. Those will be sounded like bu, bi, ba, bu, bi, ba. In contrast to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in the seventh line, next to the long vowels, aleph, wa, and ya, you see bu, bi, ba. So the durations are different. With the haraka, fatah, kasrah, and dhamma, it's bu, bi, ba. And when you add the long vowels, it becomes like bu, bi, ba, because that gives you the foundation of knowing few other grammatical rules that we'll see. So how do we read these words? Dahaba, dahab, kutub, kataba. So you see that especially the word kutub is books, and we'll see that in Surah Al-Baqarah it's like kitabu, kitabu. So there is an additional the vowel aleph is being added, and that changes the meaning of it. So we'll inshallah see look into that as well. So the next one in Tashkil group is the sukun, which we all are familiar with. We know that's a jazm, that means it's absence of a consonant. So we know it pretty much all, but one point I would like to point out here, when two of those haraka, the regular haraka, is followed by a sukun, then there is something called a phenomenon. It's called a diphthong. Diphthong is when you combine two vowels together. So the example that I have here, bait. So you see the fatah and ba is being combined with the ya, with the sukun. So bait. And ya'um. Ya'um means day. Another example of it. So this phenomenon is called diphthong, and I don't think anyone has any confusion about it. But the confusion will arise when we come across mim saqeen or noon saqeen. That means mim and noon, when those two letters will have So those two, the letters nun and mim, when they have the sukun with them, so there are some special rules that we have to follow. Inshallah, we'll see those shortly. So mim saqeen, when mim has a sukun on it. So what are the rules? There are three rules. The first one is called ikhfa mim saqeen. That means the letter ba appears after mim saqeen. Then there has to be a gunnah. That means a nasal sound, duration of 2 harakah. So the example here, you see that ya'tasim billah, ya'tasim billah, ya'tasim billah. So when I sound ba, so there has to be a nasal sound, 2 duration of 2 harakah. The next one, rabbahum bihim, rabbahum bihim. So there is a nasalization of it. وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. So that's called ikhfa min saqeen. So that nasalization, it doesn't change the meaning, but the direction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to read it with tartil at the proper, the way, the order. So this is kind of important when to be able to read Quran properly. So now the second one is the idgham mim saqeen. Idgham mim saqeen is when you combine the merge together. So 2 memes here. So if the first one you see that yati'annakum minni. So 2 meme are sitting next to each other, one with the sukun, the next one has the shadda. So you combine those 2 and there is a nasalization once again, just like the ba. There's a nasalization, nothing different. So I'm going to go through quickly because a few other things that I need to cover. So we are running out of time. The next one is the idhar mim saqeen. That means other than mim or ba, if there are other letters that follows the mim saqeen, then it should be pronounced clearly. Say for lakum dinukum, or kaydahum fi. Alam yaj'al. So we have to make sure where we have to nasalize and where it has to be sounded properly. The next one is, so based on the haraka, there could be either fatha tanwin or kasra tanwin or dhamma tanwin. So when we have a tanwin or a nun saqeen, then we have to pay special attention. So there are 4 rules around that. First one is called idhar. So in the idhar, so just like the meme idhar, that means other than meme and bam, everything has to be pronounced distinctly. Same here. Other than when after nun saqeen or tanween, there appear any of the haruful halqiyah, then they will be pronounced clearly. So these are the letters. If those appear after nun saqeen or tanween, then those will have to be pronounced clearly. So for let's look at this. The second one. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا. So the noon here, you see the second word, the minha, وَكُلَا minha. So the noon sukun and the ha is following it. So that has to be sounded distinctly. And same way we can apply to the other haruful halqiyah. That means those have to be pronounced clearly. The next one is the idgham. So where we combine the 2 sounds. And you see there are 6 letters on top. They're called yarmalun. If you add ya with a ra, with a mim, with a lam, with a war, with a nun, yarmalun. Those 6 letters, when you see coming after nun saqeen or nun tanween, then it has to be combined with the those 2 or with 6 letters. And on top of that, there has to be a nasalization of ghunna if you have ya, mim, wa, or nun. So the ra and lam, out of the 6 letters, if other than those two, all 4 letters, if we have after nun saqeen or tanween, we have to do the ghunna. So say for the first one, here ya is coming after the nun saqeen. So you do not pronounce it like in yaquluna. You do not. Instead, this nun and ya will be sounded together. So iyaquluna. The next one, ad niyad khulunaha. So you combine those two together. But when you have the meme, say for the ya and the noon nasalization, there same way when you have the meme. So amillati, amillati. So there is a nasalization when you sound the meme or the ya or the wa in that regard. The next one is the ikhfa. So if any letters other than the throat letters, the halqiyah, or the idgham letters, yarmalun, those come after the nun saqeen, then tanween, the word must be read with the ghunna or nasalization. So all other letters other than, if you combine those 9, so 29 minus 9 or 28 minus 9, those letters, if those happen after nun saqeen tanween, it has to be sounded with a ghunna. So وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ, and then 2 harakat, وَإِن تَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. Same way, you understand that a nasalization has to happen.
If ba follows a nun saqeen or a tanween, then the sound of a nun for saqeen or for tanween will transform into mim.
You have to have the nasalization once again. And many cases, you'll see a small meme, short meme on top of that in that case. So let's take an example in the next the page. So the first one you see that summun bukmun, summun bukmun, summun bukmun. So you see the meme on top of, the small meme on top of the meme character or meme symbol here. So that is the sign of the iqlab. That means actually that meme had a tanween, shadda tanween, but that has been removed with that meme sign. That means that ba will be suppressed. So summun bukmun. So you get the idea. The next one is shadda. So we all know about the shadda. That's when we use the gemination, the consonant doubling with the extra length. So we have the shadda. So the point here to be noted that Bangla, Hindi, Urdu, Arabic, those all support gemination. That means consonant doubling. But English does not support it. English as a language, it does not support it. So you will see that the English-speaking audience, English-speaking people, will have trouble saying many words. Here in this slide, you see that Allah, we can say it very easily, coming from in Bangladesh with the Bangla as a foundation, as a language. Same way, other people from the subcontinent, they can pronounce Allah very distinctly. But you'll see that many converts, they have hard time saying Allah, they will say Allah. Why? Because it is difficult for them to pronounce the gemination. Say for attain, A-T-T-A-I-N, it is not sounded as attain. And same way, there are the other examples in English that will actually give you the idea that it does not support gemination. So if, I mean, for your children who are actually born here, so they might actually have this difficulty. So have some, kind of kindness towards them, because it's not their fault, because English as a language doesn't support it. So how do you actually teach them? So for there is a way of to sound gemination, like sub-basement, midday. They can say midday. They can say bookkeeper. It's like two Ks as with a gemination, but it is like the two words with the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word, they combine together. So if you give them that example, they will be able to pronounce the gemination in Arabic very easily. And also for the noon and the meme, when those two have shadda, there has to be some gunna, just like other sukun and tanween cases. So I'm gonna just move through those clearly, fast. Then the next one is the qasira, as I mentioned, the dagger alif or alif khanzariya. And so this is actually a short vertical stroke on top of a consonant that's written, but this is actually an alif, a long alif. So when you see a dagger alif somewhere, that sound will be will take like 2 haraka duration. So for here, the hada, this, it's not hada. You see the dagger alif or alif qasira there. Same way, lakin, it's not lakin, because use Google Translate and put it there, and you'll see the meaning will change drastically. As you can see here, that وَمَا يُدِلُّ بِهِ إِلَّا الْفَاسِقِينَ. فَاسِقِينَ. See, I'm prolonging it. Al-fasiqeen. So now, al-fasiqeen means defiantly disobedient or evildoers. So remove that alif qasida. Therefore, you do not pay attention to it. You are reading illa al-fasiqeen, illa al-fasiqeen. So you are making it shorter instead of it needed to be prolonged to haraka long. So it becomes the two scenes. So the meaning of this verse, and he misleads not except the defiantly disobedient, it's gonna come as, and he misleads not except the defiantly, the two sins. So, which doesn't make much sense here, and which is not dangerous, but some places it could be dangerous, like here. So here, the first one, ya bani, ya bani, ya bani. So there's alif qasira, daghar alif, so it's need to be prolonged like a 2 haraka. So now if you drop it, what it becomes, instead of giving it a sense, or children of Israel, it becomes, he builds Israel. And the last one, ala al-alameen. So ala al-alameen, alameen. Instead of, if you remove that qasira, alif qasira, it becomes al-alameen. I even don't know what does it mean, but you see the meaning has changed drastically here. So that is alif maqsura, alif qasira.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك
that alif qasira, and you have seen this long vowels, how does it change the sounding of it? So in the same line, there is something called madul asli. So this is the most dangerous part, along with the alif qasira or daghar alif. So here you get into trouble if we handle it wrong. So those 3 letters, alif, ya, and wa, those are called haruful mad.
If an alif follows a fatah, or wa follows a dhamma, or ya follows a kasra,
then the sounding will have to be prolonged for 2 haraka. Just one exception there, read at the bottom. When aleph, long aleph will have a sukun, then this rule doesn't apply. Otherwise, this is called madul asli. And madul asli will be very dangerous if we do not handle those properly. Say for here, what we have, so original with the fatah, ba, but with the madul asli, aleph, it becomes ba. B, and it becomes B. Bu becomes bu. So same way you can follow the rest of the letters, and you will see that how does it make a huge difference. So in this example, so the I have marked down several the words. The green circle ones, since even if you drop the madul asli, which are those? All the circle ones have madul asli. So say for the first one, you see ain has a damma, and that is followed by a wa. So that is the madul asli. And then you have the next one, that alladina, so that kasra under dhal, that is followed by ya. So that is madul asli. So same way, you see wama at the almost at the end, that aleph with ma, mim, is following the fatah on top of ma, mim. So that those are the example of madul asli. So if you drop those madul asli, that means if you shorten the pronunciation, it's not going to be that much harmful. But other cases, the red ones could be dangerous. And I put those into like a table, and I used like Google Translate to get the answers. The first one you see, alladina with the madul asli, the ya. So if you drop that, the ya, it becomes, you say alladina. Instead of alladina, you say alladina. And that means and the ya. And adabun, if you drop that madul asli, you just say it adabun, it means dulcet, means soothing sound. So you see that the meaning change, the changes drastically. So madul asli, we have to pay actually quite a bit of attention. It is easy to follow, but it needs to be followed. The next one is madul mutasil. So you'll see that the long tilde shaped side. So that means you have to extend the sound for 4 to 6 haraka. There are 3 kinds of this long the mad. One is madul muttasil, that's madul munfasil, and actually 4 kinds, and the madul lazim. And the last one is not quite like that. I will discuss the last one, but these are the kind of similar. The first one, when you have the hamza as part of the word at the last one, so it is muttasil, the elongation 4 to 6. Second one, when there is no hamza with the word, but the hamza or alif comes with the second word, and those will lead the second word, then you have this mark. You see the mark signs are different. The durations are different to 3 to 5 haraka. And then you have the madul lazim. So that comes with haruf muqattat. What are those? You have seen that in Surah Al-Baqarah and many other surahs, that alif lam mim. So those are the haruf muqattat. So those are single letters. They just stand by themselves. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows their meaning. And so the duration is mandatory, and the length is 4 to 6. The last one, madul arid. So here, you may not have the mud signs, the tilde shaped signs here. So what happens? The madul asli that we have studied. So what happens if the madul asli is towards the end of the verse of where you are supposed to stop? That means there's a waqf. Waqf means where it stopped. And then there is like a sukoon to bring an end to the word. Then you prolong, instead of 2 haraka, you make it a longer 2 to 5 haraka. So the second one I'm reading, that hada alladhi kuntum bihi tad'un. It should not be tad'un. That not the 2. It can be prolonged tad'un. So it is not mad asli. It is the case of madul arid. The other thing is qalqala. So these are the 5 letters. If you have it at the end, so there has to be a reverberation. That there has to be a resonance in the sound. So I'll just read the first one. So وما بينهما ورب المشارق رق رق. And the next one will end like lut lut lut. And the next one will be ثقب ثقب. You see there is a vibration. And the last one will be fil hajj hajj hajj. It's not fil hajj hajj. So there is a jerk, a reverberation at the end, that is a resonance at the end. So that's a qalqala. The next one is hamzatul wasl. So I think I have just 1 minute. This is another important thing. So there are two kinds of hamzatul wasl. You see a sword kind of thing on top of some letters. So many cases the hamzatul wasl will be skipped. Say for here, Bismillah. It happens when you have two portion of two sections, and you are connecting with a sukoon or a shadda after the hamzatul wasl. Then that haraka, the before the hamzatul wasl will just continue. So bismi. Same way, the third one, wabnaha. So hamzatul wasl being skipped. The next one is fattiba. So we are skipping that. So when you connect before and after with the hamzatul wasl sitting in the middle, then those cases it will be skipped. Very easy. But where it gets a little bit dicey, when you have it comes at the beginning of the word. How do you say it? And you start from that word. So either it could be like a damma or it could be kasra. How do you know it? Now, if it is the first letter, the hamzatul wasl, you see, look for the third letter. Say for the cell on the right on the top, that is ubtuliya. Now ubtuliya. So you see that that hamzatul wasl will be because the ta is taking damma. Same way, the second one, the lam, the third letter is taking damma. So it's easy. So it's gonna follow the third letter in that case. And also it happens for the verbs usually. There are some the cases where this will not follow. There are 5 of those. An example here, say for ittaqu, it will not be uttaqu. Even the third one has a damma. And same way, uqdur, it's not going to be uqdur, it's going to be iqdur. So just those 5 are exceptions in Al-Quran. Otherwise, it's going to be as it is described. It will be
add a quick question on the hamzatul wasl.
Yeah.
So if the third harf is say a kasra, it's not a kasra, it's fatha. Say if the third letter is a fatha. Say we had a fatha for the first one on the top right corner, okay?
Yeah.
We have ubutuli, right? So instead of tu, so we have a dhamma on top of ta. What if we had a fatha?
So right, so that follows under the rule of ya and the fatha here. So it's gonna be the kasra. It's gonna be e.
Okay.
So ittaqal. So e.
Okay.
So if the third letter has a fatah or a kasra, then it will be e, the kasra. Does it answer to your questions here?
Yes, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, welcome. So that is the rule for the kasra. Now, on this slide, you see there is an exception. It's called lam at-tarif on the left side. Lam at-tarif is like the language. So D. So when it is a D, a definitive form, then it is always fatah. That means alladina. It is not illadina. It is not ulladina. It is always alladina because alif lam al. It is called lam at-tarif. Say for al-alamin, al-jibalu. So you see, it is easy to follow. When you see the al, then you know that it is always, it will be sounded like an ah. The rules of stop or stopping.
ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا.
So the waqf, the rules and signs of stopping. So that is kind of critical, how we stop and when you stop. based on what signs are there, or we go out of breath. So the rule to stop anywhere, that will be that if you have a fatah, kasra, or dhamma, or any tanween, then it will be a sukoon. That means a saqeen. And if you have like a mad at the end, say for the bottom, you see at the end, nashta, there is a tanween, but at the end there is a fatah. So we are ending the verse here. So we are not going to say nashtan, we're going to say nashta, nashta. And the same way, the hubban jammah. So the first one we're saying hubban. The second one we say jammah. Hubban jammah. Hubban jammah. So those are the rules if we have to stop there. Now, how about the signs? There are many signs here. So in Medina Mus'haf, it does not follow a whole bunch of signs. If you search online, you'll see a whole bunch of those. It uses very little subset of it. So I found these are the important one. The leftmost meme. So you have to be careful. This meme is not that the iqlab, the nun saqeen iqlab meme. This is a meme that's written differently. So when you have it, then you must stop. You cannot continue. When the la on the rightmost side, when you have it, that means you cannot stop. You have to continue. So those are two extreme cases. Other than in between, it based on your skill, your kind of familiarity with the verse, your breath. Say for I have very short breath, I have to stop every now and then. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so He gives me long breath, but I do not have it. So I have to stop. Whenever I find something. You see, there are two special signs, 3 dots. So I cited the first, the second verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. There are 2 of those. So always those will come in a set too. So when you see those, you either stop at the first one or stop at the second one. So I could read it this way. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. I stopped the second one, or I could have read ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ.
That's all for today. Jazakumullah khair for listening to the talk. May Allah Azza wa Ja'al accept our niyyah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our dhikr. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به، واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. ربنا إنك من تدخل النار فقد أخزيته وما للظالمين من أنصار. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا وآتنا ما وعدتنا على رسلك ولا تخزنا يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد. ربنا آمنا فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين. ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء تكون لنا عيدا لأولنا وآخرنا وآية منك وارزقنا وأنت خير الرازقين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تجعلنا مع القوم الظالمين. ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين ونجنا برحمتك من القوم الكافرين ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا ربنا آمنا فاغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا لغفور شكور ربنا وسعت كل شيء رحمة وعلما فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم ربنا وأدخلهم جنات عدن التي وعدتهم ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم وقهم السيئات ومن تق السيئات يومئذ فقد رحمته وذلك هو الفوز العظيم ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك نبنا وإليك المصير ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للذين كفروا واغفر لنا ربنا إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير